Well, hey there, everyone. Welcome again to my Joyful Julie Live. This is episode 6, believe it or not. For those of you I haven't met yet, I am Joyful Julie Griffin. I started this show just to have some wonderful conversations with people that I think are fun and interesting and that I think the whole world needs to know. So we've had some really great people on so far, and my guest tonight I am super excited about. We connected in the comments on LinkedIn. He is always dropping super useful, helpful tips as far as building your brand on LinkedIn and now on TikTok. And I just thought, you know what? The world needs to know him. So I'm going to bring him out right now, Mr. Dan Kading.
Hey, Julie. Good to be here.
How are you, Dan?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, and excited to talk about whatever with you and go down whatever rabbit hole you'd like.
Yeah, lots of rabbit holes.
Oh, yeah.
It was funny. I had LinkedIn pulled up a second ago, and I got a notification, Dan Kading is now live. I'm like, yeah, I know. He's live with me. Like, thanks for the notification.
It worked. Cool.
Yes, it did. So
Nice.
if you guys are watching, make sure you drop comments because we have an eyeball that says we've got people watching. But if you don't comment, we don't know you're here. So these things are much more fun when we can interact with you in the comments and have a conversation and help kind of guide the evening and make sure if there's anything specific you want to know, drop them in there and we can address that. Otherwise, we will just chat about whatever we feel like.
Yeah, for real.
So it'll be good. So just to get us started, I know you've got all sorts of experience and expertise. Like I was looking at your like work history earlier. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy has done everything. So I'm super curious as to how you got from like working at Lowe's and then being like an Uber driver to now writing content for TikTok influencers. So just kind of walk us through what your journey has been.
Cool. Absolutely. Thanks for asking. Yeah, Lowe's, that brings me back for sure. I worked in retail, which I think I don't know why I wanted to work in retail so bad, honestly. I mean, I had my eyes set on going into one of those places and getting a job. And I think like I must have been like 15 or something. And I walked into a Walgreens and tried to get a job without like a worker's permit or anything. And the guy was like, wow, you walked in here and shook my hand and made an impression on me. But he's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can hire you at this age, but you really impressed me, kid. So I just kept like going for retail jobs. And yeah, so worked at Lowe's and worked at Sears, worked at Office Depot, and got good with customer service. And then worked in management for a little bit and at Sears, and absolutely hated it. It was really hard. I didn't feel like I was paid enough to get screamed at as much as I was, but yeah, it was a really strong learning experience. And I moved into selling TVs in their electronics department, and that transitioned to me selling cars. And then that transitioned to my, once you work in car sales, everybody is like, whoa, you're tough. Like you've gone through it, like you've gone through it. And so once I went through that, I got a job in like SaaS sales, I guess you could call it, at the email marketing company, Constant Contact. And yeah, so I worked with them for a little while, and then I learned so much about the sales-based process and just all of it. I got my first taste of marketing, and I fell in love with it. And I didn't feel like I got enough chance to work with like the actual platform because I was just headhunting and trying to find people. So I always was really curious about that part. I was like, I really just wanted to work with the marketing and the messages, and it's still sales. It's just not direct. So anyways, yeah. Long story short, went into manufacturing for about 3 years. It really did not work well for me. I was definitely a square peg in a corporate world, and I did not fit in. My daughter was born, and my daughter was born, and I just kind of, like a lot of people had that moment, and I really wanted to finish up school. I had like some amount of credits that I wanted to use. I was nearly halfway there, and decided it was time. So pulled the trigger, got done with marketing, and in the process of being in marketing school, I realized that a lot of the people that were not as passionate about writing or the actual subject of marketing in the online school were not that pumped to discuss all these nerdy subjects about branding and content. And so I was like, I have this LinkedIn page. I was with an internship at the time, and I was like, I'm gonna talk about sales and all this other stuff. And it seemed like people were really into it. And backtrack a little bit, I've been a poet for about 15 years of my life and a writer.
Okay.
I did slam poetry for about 3 years up until COVID hit. So performance poetry in front of
Okay.
200 some people sometimes, vulnerable stuff. And it's scared me so much when I first started doing it, but I just felt drawn to that stage. Yeah, from that point on, I got better and better at it, and I learned how to cater to an audience, and really put myself on blast and be vulnerable, and all that stuff transitioned really well into content and creating
Hmm.
stuff online and being a content creator. So basically, poet turned content creator. And yeah, I take all those copywriting skills and the stuff that I've learned in my own personal life into what I do with my clients. So anyways, long story to a short,
Yeah.
hit the eventually started freelancing on LinkedIn, and yeah, helping business owners write their content and develop their profiles and develop their brands. And now I'm writing for a TikTok agency, writing for about 15 influencers on TikTok, and writing their scripts and helping them develop their content. So yeah, things are progressing and changing, and I'm so excited. So yeah.
That's really cool. It reminds me of so I used to work at a tech center, and one of the things that we would talk about with our students is we were training them for jobs that don't exist yet. And I think your story is kind of that a perfect personification of that, because like when you started at Lowe's, however many years ago that was, I don't know that TikTok existed
10,
yet.
10 plus years. Yeah, it was,
Yeah.
the internet did not look like it does
Yeah,
now.
it doesn't
Yeah.
look like it does now. So you absolutely started somewhere and now have a job that didn't exist when you started your working career, which I think is pretty darn cool.
Sorry to interrupt, but there's a side story of that where I worked with this guy Bruce at Lowe's, and every
Yeah.
day he would. I was in school for a little bit, just trying to get a writing degree at a school in Boulder, Colorado, and yeah, he would come up to me every day, and he's like, "Why are you going to school for writing, kid?" He's like, "You don't want to end up like me, selling lawnmowers to boneheads, all like." He would just get on me. He would get on me, and he really grinded me down and made me feel really bad about it. And then catch 22, 12, whatever years later, however many years it's been.
Mhm.
Yeah, now writing and creative stuff and all these things are just blowing up, and all these different things, photography and video production, and
Yeah.
and then all the other stuff that goes into that economy is just so cool. So anyways, I just
Mhm.
wanted to
Like,
mention that.
take
It's
that,
just
Mr.
such full circle, right?
Naysayer.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
That's
Yeah.
that's funny,
You turned out being wrong, luckily.
right? Hey, Jeff, and hi, Linka. I don't know if you know Linka, but she is super sweet and her art is absolutely fantastic. So if you're not
No, no,
connected with her,
I will.
any of you
Yeah.
out there, make sure and connect with her.
Yeah,
She's
please
super cool.
send me one. Send me a DM. Always here to
Yeah.
help.
Um, so what has been like it feels like your content that you've been like posting on LinkedIn lately has really shifted. Um, am I right in that observation?
Yeah, probably. It's always changing, right? So, but I'd love to hear what your perspective is before I even
Well,
answer.
previously, I think, like, when we first connected, it was really more focused toward, like, LinkedIn profile optimization and tips for things like that, and now it's very much feels like it's more TikTok focused.
That is true. I changed one of my hashtags to TikTok marketing or TikTok for business or something. So
Okay.
yeah, I've committed to it because I'm just doing it so often. It's so easy to feel like that world is coming over into my
Mhm.
LinkedIn world as well, into my
Yep.
Twitter world and all of that. But yeah, it's true.
Okay.
And I think it's always changing. It's like your interests are changing,
Mhm.
and it's people still, yeah, they still want to stick around because, like, even if a year ago I was talking about nothing but sales, and I had a sales blog or whatever, like that might have been a little bit longer. But yeah, it's like even if that stuff was happening all that time ago, it's like it seems like as time shifts, it's all those different things start to mold together, and you find all these
Mhm.
different buckets of content that you can
Yeah.
drum up, and um, so many stories that relate with way more stuff than you would ever expect, which I think is so cool. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Absolutely.
I do love talking about TikTok because it's influenced me so much. But I still try to do a tactical Tuesday post for
Okay.
LinkedIn strategy and stuff. I
Yep.
still try to at least fit one day in there for that, if not at least two. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's good. It's real good. I mean, seems like I see you all over the place. So it's good to have that diversity of content to be able to cater to your different audiences and things.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
say
absolutely.
hello. And Anna, she's saying hi. She's going to be on the show in a couple weeks toward the end
Sweet,
of this month.
sweet.
And Linka, definitely, if you're starting TikTok, you need to get with Dan because he is dropping fire tips every day. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't even do it anymore for like the algorithm, because honestly, the algorithm on TikTok has not been giving me very much love recently. So, um, I just try to like work on my audio, try to work on
mhm,
making sure my lighting's okay, like really trying to work on my hooks and CTAs and all that. Yeah, it's like
okay.
it's amazing how like just making things concise. Even Justin Welsh on LinkedIn talks about that stuff, like
Mhm,
making things super concise and breaking down the
mhm.
formatting. It's just from a LinkedIn perspective. And
Yeah.
it's so interesting to me how these things are so universal when you really boil down some of the parts of it or whatever.
Yeah, no, it really is. Like the concepts are the basics that you just tailor towards whatever you're applying them to. And I think that's that way for a lot of different things. You probably found that with sales. Like selling a car
Yeah.
and selling, marketing services aren't the same, but your process basics probably are.
Yeah, the desire to listen very well does not
Mhm.
change across any industry for sure. Like
Yeah.
being able to actively listen to people and ask follow-up questions that allow you to not only allow that person to feel like you're including them in the
Mhm.
the building of what they want, but also understanding what they want so you can cater whatever it is. And it seems like those positioning skills go into marketing as well,
Mhm.
and being able to find the nugget of what makes something really valuable, or especially for a person too. That's why I love working with people and like helping them develop
Yeah.
their headlines to just like create an awesome headline if I can. I think I worked with you on that for a little bit.
Mhm.
And yeah, just like finding new ways for people to make themselves sound awesome. Like
Yeah.
so
No,
right off the bat, that's always
that's
fun.
good. That's good. And I know for me, it's really difficult, or I find it very difficult to talk about myself and be like, yeah, I'm awesome. And so seeing somebody that's out there doing the work and is sharing the tips on how to do it, I know has been super helpful for me. And so I imagine
Good.
if it's helpful for me, it's helpful for others too.
I hope
Um,
so. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So I do have a TikTok account. I have posted 2 TikToks.
How'd it go?
So they were fine, I mean, because they were super fun, and, like, the first one was, I'd been watching, like, a consumer on TikTok for a while, and it was last winter, like, winter of, like, 21 when we had all that snow, and it was crazy stupid cold for a long
Oh
time,
yeah. Yeah. I'm
and
not
we
that
were
far away
pulling the
from that.
kids on the sled, and they came around, and my dog ran in front of them, and they totally wiped out, and I was like, the, "Oh, no, no, no" audio?
Yeah.
Like, I was like, "That'll be perfect," and so, like, that was my first one that I did. And
Exactly. You
then
have a moment that matches that exact
yes,
trend. Yeah.
yes, and it worked. And I remember
Right?
thinking, "Man, this isn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be," so it wasn't bad.
No, yeah. That's, like,
And
often
then
what happens. Yeah, or even
yeah,
when I first got on there. But, yeah, my first few videos are so painful to look at. I mean,
yeah,
but it's like, I'm keeping them up there. I'm not gonna take them off, plus, like, the algorithm or the platform will sometimes look at that pretty negatively. But, yeah, I think that process is so important, and it's amazing how polished you get after even just, like, 15,
mhm,
20 videos or whatever. And people are like, "Yeah, I don't wanna dance, though." And I'm like, "Okay, like, you don't necessarily have to dance. Like, you're just gonna incorporate some music." And like half the time, I'm just like sharing very similar stuff to what I do on LinkedIn, but just in a more
mhm,
condensed version.
yeah,
Um, and yeah, with my microphone instead of my fingers, on my keyboard, it's definitely more time consuming in that sense. But yeah, I think I did a little thing with one of my my clients and basically just like showed him how to. I jumped on a Zoom call on my phone and then just like directed him through the TikTok app and showed him how
Mhm.
to do, how to do a basic, how to do a basic edit of whatever, how to condense each video, how to bring
Yeah.
in the music, and it was so helpful. He immediately started flying with it, and yeah, he already posted something. He got like 5,000 plus views on it the other day. I was like, sick, dude.
That's
this is
awesome.
this is great to
That's
see.
awesome.
I'm like, you're my little case study right now, so let's do it.
That's good. It's good to have those case
I was
studies.
like, if I get you to 10K, you got to hire me for 6 months. He was
There you go.
like deal.
So for somebody, if some so like Linka, she's just started TikTok, said she'd never do it. I know Amanda Stern, the journaling queen, she's recently got on TikTok. Um, I keep getting the vibe that I need to do more on TikTok. I think between you and Sven, he actually flat out told me the other day, "You got to get on TikTok." And I'm like, I
Yeah,
don't want to.
right. You
So
get
for
that direct
somebody who
statement.
feels like that's where they need to go, like, what are, like, the very, like, basics for just getting started to get the feel of it, get the flow? Like, what would you say is that, like, very basic 2 to 4 things to keep in mind as you're getting
Absolutely.
going?
Super good question. Avoid all the effects. Don't go anywhere near them.
Okay.
If you use an effect or if you use a trending sound, just find it through somebody. Like so if you see there's like a thing where you can show a screenshot in your hand and move it back
Mhm.
and forth. Like if you see someone do that, just click on the effect and then save it from there. So
Okay.
because if you go into the effects area and all of that convoluted stuff, I mean, I have no idea what any of it does. Like the top creators do, and they have fun with that, and you can try to recreate that stuff, but it's like none of it's useful. So basically, it's like other than having a green screen behind your head or a screenshot in your hand,
Uh-huh.
other than that, I really think that there is no need for any effects. And so it's like you just bring in some music and make sure that you are clipping together each one of your videos so that it flows really clearly. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, because a lot of people will start out and they'll clip together each video and they're like staring off into the distance and then they focus in on the screen. And you can see that. So it's like once you start to figure out how to make the videos, you realize you can clip each one and make them smaller and condense them and make it so much smoother to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So and I think really like it's really not as hard. You just select the 30, the 60 seconds or 3 minute thing to figure out how long you want it to be. And then once you get done filming your ideas, it's good to bring in captions and
Mhm.
you can create those in the app. But yeah, you have to have those captions because a lot of people watch TikTok with the sound off, and
Yeah.
when you go to repurpose, it's so nice to have those. So, but yeah, other than that, like that's really it. And then just bring in some music and make sure it's not too loud because a lot of times people will bring in music and it's just completely overshadowing
Okay.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
And use instrumentals too. So if someone is like talking, you don't want to have a whole bunch of singing in the background, like distracting from what they're saying. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I think all of those things, once you do that and you have a really good take and like you put a really good song to it and you hear how good it sounds, it's like the best
Mhm.
feeling. You're just like,
Yeah.
you feel like a rock star almost. And then even if the thing doesn't perform well, you're like, I made that. Like
Yeah.
I just made that TikTok and it looks really
Yep.
great and I can save it and I can go put it someplace else. But now like I've gotten bored with all the features inside TikTok, so I use a platform called CapCut, and
Okay.
it's so simple to use. So if anybody's out there looking for the real in the weeds like thing to use CapCut. It's free. You get so much control over all of the captions, and
Okay.
I've been having so much fun with them. I mean, like from
Okay.
from pink bubbly captions to whatever, and it works so well. So, anyways, yeah, those are some of the main things. And then when you do that and you have it outside of the platform, you don't have the TikTok watermark, and you can upload it to Instagram super easily, and you don't
Mhm.
sacrifice your reach because all the other platforms, they don't like TikTok. So if they see that
Yeah.
emblem bouncing around, LinkedIn hasn't started doing that yet, but I'm sure they will eventually. But yeah, being able to upload that native video and just have it there without any of that extra
Okay.
stuff, it just makes you feel and look so crisp and awesome, and it makes you feel like a creator, even if the reach isn't quite there yet, just that
Mm-hmm.
feeling of being able to create something like that is super empowering. And yeah, once you get through that, it's really simple and it's a lot of fun. And then you can create a
Okay.
fun trend and really do something that's like the TikTok style stuff at
Yeah.
a certain point, but no rush in that area. No one needs any dancing yet, unless you want to.
Yeah. Right. I love that.
Yeah.
So you create your video, like the whole thing in CapCut and then put it into TikTok?
No, I have a weird system. So I use
Okay.
Snapchat. Actually, I use Snapchat to create
Oh,
really quick snippets of myself.
okay.
Because I could use Instagram, I guess, but I use Snapchat all the time already to send videos of my daughter and to my wife when she's at work and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'll pull out my Snapchat and I'll have my phone up on my little handy dandy stand, and I'll have my headphones in and yeah, I'll just hold the Snapchat button and film quick bursts of video because otherwise using my own camera from my Apple just like is not easy. You can't get those quick videos. You have to click record and then stop it, and it's just not clean.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll just film. I'll have my script on my computer. I'll have my lighting set up, and I'll just film myself each part. And then once I'm done, I've checked them all out and make sure they're in order. I'll go back into my phone and I'll just edit them and trim them down just a little bit more so they are extra clean. That I'm
Mhm.
not staring off in the distance. I'm looking directly at it. Um, and then yeah, I'll upload those in order onto CapCut, and it is so precise. And then I'll just hit the auto caption and get those uploaded into there and get them nice and clean because that's probably the hardest part is just getting them lined up so they look normal.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then from there, yeah, I'll upload and add the music inside Instagram, and I'll add the extra effects inside TikTok and Instagram. Um, and yeah, I could start repurposing to Pinterest or YouTube as well. I just have not gotten there yet. So
Okay.
yeah. So those are some of the main things that I would say are helpful to do. And but yeah, I have a weird system, and I don't know if other
Okay.
people are doing it that way, but it's just super helpful because you can
Mhm.
create the really quick video and then hit download. Like there you go, you're good to
Yeah.
go, and then you can trim it and you're set. So it may be convoluted, but it saves me a ton of time. So I'm able to
Well,
bust out those videos quickly.
if it saves you time and you've got a system down, I think that's I mean, who cares if other people think it's convoluted? It's your system and it
Right?
works for you. So who
Yeah,
cares
yeah,
what other people think? I'm sure I
exactly,
do things
exactly.
backwards too. And you know what? Oh well.
Yeah,
Who
I
cares
guess
what
the
other
only
people
reason I
think?
would be saying that is because I don't have like my Notion set up with like my creator files and all that. I just use my classic notes app on my MacBook, and I have not upgraded yet. And I'm like, I'm just not cool enough yet. Like I'm, I'm still like riding. I'm still riding on my lamp over here because I, the busted ring light. So it's like, okay, whatever.
It works. It works.
Right,
Whatever
it
it
works.
takes.
Exactly, exactly.
I think it's funny, like you said several times, it's easy, simple, it's not a big deal. And here I am thinking, oh my God, you're blowing my mind. Like it seems like so many steps and so many things to do.
Yeah, like the trimming of yeah, and it's almost like you're a robot learning how to walk for the first time or something. Like
Yeah.
you're not like a human where you have all your neural pathways figured out. You got to like figure out and map the room around you. It's like when
Yeah.
I first stepped on a skateboard and I fell off, and then like many years later I'm able to jump down stair sets with it. So it's like
Hmm.
yeah, one step leads to that next step, and it's like the momentum of learning just continues to grow and yeah, I mean, if there's anything about it, it's like almost when I was in math class, I never liked math, but they're always like, math teaches you how to think, and I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, well, I kind of look at all this stuff I do online the same sort of way, like trying to learn how to create a message that resonates with people. Like the process of doing that and failing at it many times
Hmm.
has taught me so much about all these other things around me that I never would have thought. It's like there's so many nuances in regards to that, and I really do enjoy that process. And if I can share content that talks about that too, that's
Hmm.
even better. So,
No, I think that's great that you mentioned like just getting started and being okay with failing at it. Cause I mean, even failing, I would hesitate to use that word because I don't think you're ever actually failing when it comes to posting stuff online because it's every time you do it, it's a learning experience and it brings you closer to where you want to be the next time. And honestly, even if 0 people see it, it isn't really a failure because you went through the process and you did it and you posted it, and that in itself is a victory when you're just getting started, I think.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. I mean, doing it for yourself, doing it for the joy of doing it. I don't know. I mean,
Hmm.
like, I always come back to the skating reference, but it's like when I first learned how to do a pop shove it, and that's just like where the board does a little 180.
Okay.
I literally did it across my street for hours on end, for weeks on end, learning it until I could do it while I was moving, and like I mean, like, I was a kid with ADHD. I had a lot of energy, and like, I needed to get out there and do stuff. But like, there was no sense to what I was doing. I was just obsessed with the process,
Hmm.
and it just seems like that same stuff transfers over, even though it's
Hmm.
20 years later, whatever, and it still is applicable. Those lessons that were learned. So it's like in the process of creating all this content over the last 16, 17 months on multiple platforms, and it seems like TikTok and places like Instagram or YouTube or whatever can take a a seasoned creator and make them into an absolute pro if they stick to it.
Hmm.
It's like if you really try to make it work and push yourself to experiment every single day. That's where the really cool stuff happens, and then you
Yeah.
can share what happened during that process and be like, it didn't work for
Yeah.
this reason. Like, people
Yeah.
love that.
No, I love Linka's comment. If I cared about likes, I should have wrapped it up years ago. Because at the time, like, if you're posting for yourself, who cares what everyone else thinks? And like you mentioned the skateboarding reference and doing it for hours on end. People like don't think twice about that. They think, oh, they're dedicated and they're working hard. Same thing with learning to shoot free throws in basketball or whatever it is. If you spend hours doing something, people's always like, oh, they're dedicated and they're working hard. But it seems like that level of like respect for the work doesn't always translate to online things, and it should, because we're still doing work and like mastering our craft. So there's no reason to not work at it, if that's something that you want to do. And here I am like preaching to myself, like just go ahead and do it. So
Yeah, I feel like I'm a walking contradiction like every day of my life. So I mean, like, in 1 minute I'm like thinking one thing, and then by the afternoon I'm thinking something different. But
it
I'm
happens.
yeah, I'm all over the place like that. But yeah, no, I think it's just such a cool process to see people challenge themselves, and really try to capture their stories too, which is something you're really good at,
Hmm.
and talk about not only vulnerable stuff, but how that relates to who they are now. And it's like,
Hmm.
it's not like we all woke up one day and the world began and it was LinkedIn, like,
Yeah.
there's all this amazing stuff that has happened to all of us, and really hard stuff, and really cool
Mhm.
stuff, and really challenging and insightful. And we've had moments where we've really felt like we challenged ourselves, and we haven't given ourselves enough credit for it. And it's like when we bring up those stories, it's like the stuff that we bring up when we're in interviews and we're really trying to like sell ourselves, but
Yeah.
like being like that all the time, and I guess having that self-love to be like, yeah, you know what, I am going to talk about myself. I'm going to talk about how I did this one thing really well, and here's why I did it well. And I'm not going to look around the room and wonder if everybody's okay with it. It's like, yeah, I,
Hmm.
I feel great about this specific moment in my life, and I'll always, always cherish those little things, where like you
Yeah.
really pushed yourself to try something new in a moment when you were terrified, or over a long period of time, and staying consistent towards something that matters to you. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
I
that
think
stuff really inspires me.
I think that's great. That's great advice. So here's a question. Talk about how you got your first clients on TikTok.
The DMs, talking to people just like I would on LinkedIn. Um, and it happened easier too because TikTok allows people the opportunity to really get to know you fast.
Okay.
It's a portal into your world, and I can hide behind my LinkedIn posts to some regard, but Twitter and all that stuff. But yeah, it seems like TikTok, the vulnerability button gets turned up fast for most people, and yeah, so I feel like it was much quicker and easier to get that process moving forward. But yeah, in those DM conversations where I took someone's consistent comments and just reached out to them and thanked them for it and started up a conversation. And that conversation led to me, learning about their business. I think
Mhm.
it's James Lorraine or somebody that
Okay.
talks a ton about conversational marketing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, not only with your content and creating a conversation within it, but also within the DMs and going that extra mile to be consultative. I was talking to Tom Slocum,
Okay.
who's another big name. I just had a meeting with him earlier, and he was talking about that exact thing where it's like, I forgot what I was going to say now that I'm bringing him up, but anyways, yeah. Yeah, having conversations and
Yeah.
building your brand around that specific stuff and actually like, being consultative and even if you don't consider yourself a consultant, but like asking people good questions and just going the extra mile to get to know people. I think that goes a really long way
Mhm.
with what you do on TikTok as well as LinkedIn. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, I think it does, and I think you hit it right on the head. Having those conversations, I mean, we say it all the time on LinkedIn, the magic is in the comments. And, like, you meet people in the comments, and you have those conversations, and then you take it to the DMs, and then maybe even, like, off platform on Zoom or something. But
Absolutely.
being engaging and interacting with those posts on a regular basis really goes a long way to build those relationships, and I think it sounds like you're saying it's that way no matter which platform that you're on.
Even more so on TikTok too, because you can do a video response, which is something that to me is so cool.
Okay.
Like, yeah, someone comments on your post and it's like, okay, because TikTok only gives you, I think, 60 characters in the comments, so you don't get
Mhm.
much. I think they limit it for a reason. They want you to create organic video, so they kind of force you into it like that. Um,
'Kay.
but but it's just the way that things designed. So you work with it, and then yeah, you can literally have their question posted right up next to your
Mhm.
face and you can give a response to it. And I just always really appreciated that. And so like when you look at those nuances and it's like it almost adds that extra step to make it even more possible for you to do community shout outs and things of that nature. Because you don't
Mhm.
even have to tag someone in your original content. You can just run to someone with a really big following and get a conversation started. And before you know it, their followers are interacting with you the same way they would on LinkedIn. So I think that's really cool. And yeah, why, yeah, I think those same fundamentals stay true on TikTok. And if anything, it potentially gets sped up more because people get to know you more quickly.
Interesting. I never would have guessed that. And I guess maybe I'm not on TikTok enough to really, like, notice those things and appreciate them. Um, but now I'm gonna pay more attention. Not that I need to spend more time on TikTok, but I'm gonna be paying attention now when I
Everything in
am.
balance. Everything in balance, yeah. And the algorithm's unique because LinkedIn, who even knows how it works? But but with
It's like
TikTok,
just throwing things in a
yeah,
box and shaking it up and seeing
yeah,
what happens
shaking it
next.
around like shake and bake. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah, like it seems yeah, TikTok does not care about vanity things like someone's follower count. They
Okay.
put things in the feed no matter what the size of that person's account is. So I think that's really cool. So basically, where you go on Instagram and you get nothing but the top accounts, and that's all you get, and it drives you absolutely insane. But with
Yeah.
TikTok, they focus on putting new stuff in your feed and testing that on you to figure out what kind of reaction you give to it. And so that's why it's a little addictive and it pays a lot of attention, maybe too much. And but that's
Yeah.
another conversation for another day. But yeah, at the end of the day, it does help creators in that sense to find people to communicate with in a really authentic way. And sometimes you catch lightning in a bottle and you have a viral video out of nowhere. I mean, my client that I'm working with on LinkedIn just started posting to TikTok, and she
Mhm.
had no idea this video was going to blow up like it did. And it's just insane. She's already almost 2,000 followers in a matter of no time. I didn't help her with any of that either. She did it all on her own. And I'm like, you just went for it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and you just talked about this crazy situation with this house that you're
Mhm.
taking care of, like just a process share about the day in the life of a real estate agent in California. And it's just like it
Oh
blew
my
up,
gosh.
and now all these other things are happening too. And she's like, huh, maybe people like this. I'm going to triple down on this. And lo and behold, every other video is just like getting all this engagement. And I'm like, I'm so pumped for you. Like,
That's
keep
cool.
doing that. That stuff gets me excited, and that to me on any platform, whether it's LinkedIn or Twitter, YouTube, having the ability to just plug into this, this web. And it's
Mhm.
not the internet. It's a social network of people.
Yeah.
And in a place where, on LinkedIn, where they're hyper targeted, you can cater to that. In a place on TikTok where they're looking for that entertainment aspect, you can cater to
Mhm.
that. And it's like, if you're able to take it and run with it and create a sticky following and monetize that, I just am yeah, I'm so excited about that for any person that wants to try and do it. And even if not, and they're just looking for a few clients to do one specific thing for, it doesn't take long. And I
Okay.
think that's so cool,
So Linka has another comment. Doesn't like making videos of painting. She doesn't like to share. I'm assuming she meant process, not princess. I mean, you are a princess, Linka, but I'm assuming you meant process there. Kind of all over the place. Do you guys like to watch videos of artists painting or prefer just final painting with amazing details? So for me, I love watching the process. There's actually a gal I follow, um, KT's Canvases, I think, and she'll do like a time lapse of her creating this artwork, in like 30 seconds or whatever it is, and I'm sure it took her hours and hours. And then she kind of voices over like very briefly like what her process was, and I will watch those like over and over and over again because it's something so far out of what I could do. And of course, seeing it like in hyperspeed is even more fascinating because I think your brain doesn't quite compute that she didn't actually do it that quickly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know I like to watch the process videos. What's your take on those?
I absolutely love them in all forms. I'm obsessed with vlogs. Yeah, I watch this channel, Bald and Bankrupt, and I know it's a travel vlog, but like, I think vloggers prove a really good point that you can just put a camera in front of anything, and
Mhm,
you can turn it into something great. I mean, like, you could literally vlog. And I know that's one example, but just the idea that you can just capture content around the things that you do throughout your day. Like right now, I could have my phone up capturing this meeting, and I could be
mhm,
taking that later and sharing it, because what I think with live streams and podcasting and stuff like that really forces us to do is reinvent the content creation process, where we're not creating content, we're just capturing a conversation. And
mhm,
so I think when we look at things like art or painting, capturing that process, or even sharing some of the groans of that process, the things that an artist would relate with, the cost of going to an art store and spending money on oil paints. And I
mhm,
know that throughout my experience of being an artist, that those things were really costly. Even say you do graphic design, or you work with there's all those Apple, where they always do all these crazy cool logos and stuff on Instagram that I see. But even in a situation like that, just like sharing the programs that you use, and
mhm,
the little hacks that exist within your day-to-day life, that in a normal world, we would assume that the small amount of people that are in our lives may not care that much. But when we put it on the internet and we share it with
mhm,
such a large group of people, it's amazing. It's amazing what kind of niche you can discover around something as simple as painting or art. So yeah, I wouldn't
mhm.
I wouldn't knock it until you put a camera in front of it and edit it really nicely,
Yeah.
and throw it up on some platform and just see what people think. The one of the biggest platforms on TikTok right now, I cannot think of her name, but she literally doesn't do anything but film herself cooking things, and she doesn't have any dialogue, she doesn't have any recipes, she doesn't have any music. She just turns on the camera, and what's cool about it is that everybody from anywhere in the world can watch it and be entertained by it, because there's no, like, there's no language barrier,
Mhm,
there's no music, so there's no copyright infringement. And there's no one's asking for permission. It's not like, hey guys,
mhm.
I have this thing to share, yada yada, and you're like,
Yeah,
oh please,
yeah.
like, if someone's asking me for their permission, I'm like, no way. Like, as humans, we just say no right away. We want that autonomy.
Mhm,
And yeah, so I think yeah, to answer that question, I absolutely think there's so much space for that. And like you were saying, seeing those process shares to you, it's
mhm.
something that you value, right? And it's
Yeah,
something that you appreciate too, right?
absolutely. So for somebody, okay, like me, let myself be a case study for you,
Yeah, let's do it.
or guinea pig. So, like, I have an account set up under like my personal name or nickname that I use all the time. So if I were to get started, would you advise that I just get started posting random stuff that's related to me personally, or go ahead and make a separate like business one and focus there just to get started? Like what would your advice on that getting started process be?
I would keep the personal, and I wouldn't even start the business one.
Okay.
Just keep the personal. I guess long-term planning, create a name that's catchy and easy to use across multiple platforms. If you,
Mhm.
you know, like with me, I'm at Brand with Dan on Twitter, TikTok, and IG. I got lucky with that. I don't, sometimes you can get lucky like that. And then the same picture. So if someone spots me in a new community, they can easily
Mhm.
follow me and engage with me. But yeah, I would keep it. I would keep the personal brand, and I would first just start taking some of the stuff from LinkedIn and
Mhm.
making it smaller. Taking the context out and just sharing like the end point and the beginning point.
Okay.
Giving yourself take your hook and then the entire body and condense it into like 3 points, and then make a call to action at the end, and maybe a follow me or a comment. I'd love to hear more or something like that.
Mhm.
Because the shorter you can get with TikTok, the higher you're going to get in the engagement because it's going to increase that watch time. And so when that
Mhm.
watch time is increased, the shorter the video, you have a better chance of more people seeing it. So that's why everybody's always trying to get things as concise as possible. But that doesn't mean you can't still share a valuable message. You just have to think about it in a different way. So I would say take what you have already and just make it smaller or break it into several points. If you
Mhm.
can't break the whole thing down, and because LinkedIn does allow a lot of context, then take that
Yeah.
main LinkedIn post and just turn it into 3 TikTok videos. You don't have to
Mhm.
make it a series, just make them different points about the same subject. One of the biggest names on TikTok, JT Barnett, which you will very quickly interact with because he's all over the place. But his big thing is like I say 1,000 things, or I say 10 things 1,000 different ways, and that's his TikTok
Okay.
content. And he's on LinkedIn too. He's actually building over here finally. So, yeah, that's how I look at it. So even if your LinkedIn post has a ton of context, fine, create 3 TikToks with different points about that same point and just break it down. And then from there, you can start to build up a little bit of confidence about what you're saying. You can do a
Mhm.
couple of response videos where someone asks you a question or they say, great video. And you can even just make a video and say, thank you. Like you can fill your feed with a couple of kudos. Like, we do that stuff on LinkedIn where we give community shout outs, same sort
Mhm.
of thing, but on TikTok. And then yeah, I think from that point, when you see a trend that you think is kind of funny, and the whole point is to take the trend and make it relate back to your niche, basically. So
Okay.
I saw this one where it was like a zoom out trend, and then it was like the voice of this person laughing in an evil voice, and it's like ha 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 ha, sensational, and like it's like the funniest thing ever. And so I put my tripod up, and it had the zoom feature already built in. That's the thing about the trend. You just click I want to do the same one, and it'll save all
Yeah.
those features. So you don't have to remember all that stuff. Like everybody's always wondering, like, how did they get it to do that? And it's like you just copy the person that did it before you. So, but yeah, and like I set up my thing, and then I pulled out an old phone of mine, and I'm supposedly looking at my screen, and I put on there that says, after you've looked at the title of your ebook for the 878th time, sensational, like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, like you relate it back to your niche, you have some fun with it, and you get to be a little goofy, and like I made that and I just sat there snickering at it for at least like a week, probably. I was like, that's so funny. I'm just like,
That's awesome.
you just have some fun. And then, like as time goes on, just save those things. And then if someone's using a song that you really like, I don't think Stephen G. Pope will admit it, but I think he's been stealing my songs, which I'm cool with. he can do it because I swear, like we keep like riffing on each other's songs. But yeah, if you find a sound that you like, save it and then use it in your own. So I think there's a lot to be said about like just jumping into TikTok and just seeing what's on
Mhm.
there and scrolling about and yeah, I mean, it's everybody's there now. The demographics are through the roof.
Yeah.
Everybody's on the platform. So I've run into accounts where it's like this sweet little old man in the woods living like this woodland life, talking about the flowers and the trees and reading poetry, and it's like I'm like, that's so cool. That is so
It's
cool. And my aunt came to me the other day, and she's kind of like that, like old school hippie, like just she writes poetry and does
yeah.
calligraphy, and she's really artistic. And she's like, I really want to do this social media thing, but I just don't really know what I'm doing. And I'm like, you need to get on TikTok. And she's like, well, yeah. I'm like, you would be perfect. I got to show you this channel. And I showed her the channel,
Mhm.
and she's like, oh, I could do that. Just
How funny.
I'm like,
That's
oh, you got all these
awesome.
like, yeah, you got these, yeah, just people that you would not expect to be influencers, like just being themselves, and it's the coolest thing ever. And then,
That's
they're, I don't know if they're monetizing, but they definitely should. So
mhm.
yeah, with the
One
massive following.
one
So
thing you one thing you said I think was really interesting, or at least, like, it clicked with me, is on, the sounds.
mm-hmm,
So, are you connected with Anthony Jones on
mm-mm,
LinkedIn?
mm-mm.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
maybe. I'd
Maybe.
have to
If
look.
not, you should be. He was my guest last week. But
Okay.
most of his, like, LinkedIn marketing related TikToks all have the same background music. And so I always assumed that that was, like, his sound or whatever. Well, the other day
Oh,
I was scrolling and I heard it and I was like, "That's Anthony's." And I was like,
okay.
"Wait, no, it's not. No, it's not."
Yeah, right,
But
right.
I'd heard it enough just on him,
Yeah.
like, I associated it with him. It was kinda funny.
Yeah, some
But
people reuse the same songs, and I have a ton of fun with it because I love hip hop and like instrumentals and stuff like that. And
mhm.
so I'll put like one of my favorites, like Eminem, "My Name Is" or whatever, and it's like, "My
Yeah.
name is what? My name is Slim like, and but then like you do your riff and it sounds like you're freestyling. So it's like, and people are like, that's cool, or they hear it and it hits that nostalgic point where they're like, I know that
Mhm.
song or whatever. And I think, yeah, so then there's creators that will use the same songs, and then what will happen is every so often a song will get taken off, and then every single one of their videos is just with no music anymore.
Mhm.
So it's good to switch it up. Just in
Yeah.
case that ever
I've
happens, you don't want to lose all your songs on like more than half your videos all of a sudden. So
yeah. So why does that happen?
copyright, a glitch in the system. I don't know. I mean, yeah,
Huh.
you would figure they put it on TikTok and it had been there that long that it's like it's a part of the platform at that point. Like you
Yeah.
can't take that away. It's like, yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's
Interesting.
it's interesting too how like marketing companies are now using TikTok sounds in advertisements. Like the one that they've just become iconic. Like the oh no, oh no. Like, and then
Yeah.
those sounds are being put into all these advertisements, and they get me every time. I'm like, oh, just like you were saying, like that's Anthony or whatever Anthony's sound. Like,
Yeah.
but the same thing for TikTok and advertisements, and I'm like, you got me, like that's smart right there.
Yeah.
Get me
That's
with those
funny.
nostalgia points. Yeah.
Well, and I think that relates exactly back to your post yesterday about those nostalgic things or things that click, whether it's a song or a genre of music or a tattoo or whatever it is. Those very personal things can really strengthen that relationship really fast, even if you don't really know each other. Being able to connect over that, seemingly random thing can be a really cool deal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Um, like if someone has a specific symbol or they're wearing, it's like, why do we love logos on shirts so much? Like, why are people so obsessed with that? Like,
Yeah.
and usually they're not even that great, or it's like a logo for something that meant one thing and became a whole nother thing. And
Hmm.
like how Carhartt became like the streetwear company of all time out of nowhere,
Yeah.
and they never had
Yeah.
any intention of being that, but like it happened. And really it was just meant to represent rugged clothes for rugged individuals. And it's just those individuals became a whole plethora of different people. And
Hmm.
but yeah, no, I think that's I love the aspects of personal branding where it's like where you give people permission to just tell their story in the most unique way they can. um
Hmm.
and yeah, and to highlight that, and because I think like people, they know you work at a certain place, they know that you are in a specific industry, and all that stuff is important, and creating content for that target audience is important, but what about all the other people? What about all the other people that are earlier in their journey,
Mhm.
that are looking for community? When I first got started, like I would just go to like a popular person like Justin Welsh and just go straight to the bottom. I'd go all the way to the bottom of his content and find people that had been ignored, that made a good point, and no one had said anything. As much as
Mhm.
Justin is super good about getting to that stuff, he at that, maybe at that point had not been able to get there. So I jump in there and respond to them, go to their profile, see that they're creating content on a regular basis and they're really trying. It's like, we need to connect, like, well, let's join, let's create a squad here because I like what you're saying. And it seems like that to me is so important. And then you start to find those commonalities and your content starts to share that story where it's like, okay, yeah, I remember feeling this way too, or at a
Mhm.
certain point in time I connected with that. And it's like, as much as we know where people work and what they do, that stuff matters so much more to us. And it's like people are nosy. We want to know what's going on in
Yeah.
each other's lives, and we want to know what fuels our motivations. And
Mhm.
that, to me, I think helps us build trust and understand each other better. And yeah, in the consultative world and in the creator economy, I think, yeah, trust is a
Mhm.
what's the word? It's something that's in high demand, and only so many people are willing to do the work necessary to actually create some of it. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah. No, I think you're exactly right. People connect with people. I mean, you are a marketer, but you're also, a dad, a skateboarder, and
poet.
whatever other poet. Yeah, that still kind of blows my mind. Actually, one of my friends a couple weeks ago, she's also a poet, so I know two poets now.
That's awesome.
Um,
Yeah,
but there are just those other things in our life that make us us. Like for me, it's the farm life and the horses and
absolutely. Yeah.
being able to share those things because those are very much a part of who I am. Doesn't necessarily relate to what I do in the professional training world, but it's definitely
Maybe not from a keyword perspective, but
yeah.
for you it does. Yeah.
Hmm.
And all the things that you've learned throughout the process of being on a farm. I mean, yeah, like
Absolutely.
that is hard work. And just like, yeah, you're committing to a process. And in
Hmm.
that process, yeah, you learn things about yourself and you ponder the world too. So yeah, it's like throughout the process of being in that, you can create so much insight too. So
Hmm.
yeah, absolutely. I think that's really
So,
cool.
do you think, like, as you're going about your day or whatever, do you think in the form of TikTok, like, I should be recording this, or is it ever, or are your TikToks always like scripted and
No, not
structured?
always. No, no, not always. I when I don't structure them, I sometimes regret it because I end up saying things that don't quite make as much sense, and I realize that later. But no, I have my notes section, like I was mentioning before,
Mhm.
and I have my LinkedIn section and my Twitter and my TikTok, and then pretty much everything that I can goes to Instagram at this point. Um, but no, a lot of times I'll take something that I think is more geared towards the TikTok audience, and I'll actually create it in that sense.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think yeah, the let me see if I can answer this question better. Um, so yeah, like building out your content from that focus where it's like, okay, this seems more geared towards a TikTok audience. I can sum this up in a faster amount of time. So this makes more sense to put
Mhm.
on Twitter or TikTok. Whereas LinkedIn, I definitely have that space and that ability to go into more context and get down into the
Mhm.
weeds with people. So if I feel as though this idea needs to start on LinkedIn, then yeah, I'll start it on LinkedIn. Or if it does really well on LinkedIn and I'm like, I need to share this with TikTok, but I sure as hell can't just read it into a TikTok.
Yeah.
Like I need to shorten it down. I'll move it back over. And then, and everything kind of works in different directions. Like, you'll see me share stuff from Twitter onto TikTok in the, a form of a screen share in my
Mhm.
hand. I'll be like,
Okay.
this is a fantastic point that I saw on LinkedIn. Like there's other communities out there that have awesome
Yeah.
stuff, like it's not, because a lot of people on TikTok think it's just TikTok and yada
Yeah.
yada. But yeah, I think back and forth from different directions, everything can kind of influence the other, and you can
Mhm.
test ideas in one community and then bring them over to another. And even if the same people that saw it on LinkedIn there's one person that follows me on all my accounts, but she engages with all my stuff in unique ways on each platform, even though I'm talking about a lot of the same stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it goes back to that JT Barnett thing. Like I say 10 things 1,000 different ways. Like,
Yeah.
you got your 10 things that you're really passionate about, but there's so many nuances in there and so many different things that you as a nerd about that subject or know a
Yeah.
ton. And it's like you expose that and people are like, you're smart and I like the cut of your jib, as they would say. And
Yep.
I'm gonna follow you because I'm interested, I'm bought in. Let me see what else is here, And yeah, so I think when that happens, that's a really cool thing for people to buy into you and be like, I want to hear more of your story and hear it in all of its different forms too.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that. So one thing I haven't heard you mention, so I'd love to get your thoughts on it. Where is like Facebook?
Oh, Facebook? Yeah, where is Facebook? I don't know. I only go there when I need to sell something on Marketplace. And
Okay.
other than that, I don't go anywhere near it. No. My family is on there. If I want to get in an argument with one of my uncles or something, like absolutely, I'm set. But yeah, that's the main reason. For me, that side of social media, just I guess in my head just doesn't connect with me anymore. And Instagram is
Mhm.
pretty much as close as I go to the metaverse at this point, and that's just because I mean, I like to have a win every so often. So I go to Instagram
Understand.
because I can post and I can get 10,000 views on something, and I'm like, yes, thank you. I needed that because I posted that same thing to TikTok and I got 50, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all right, I can still keep going. All right.
Yeah. No, I think
Are
that
you doing stuff on Facebook? I can't remember.
I mean, I have Facebook mainly because there are a lot of, like, my kids' communication comes through there is in forms of groups or,
Mm.
especially with, like, sports teams and things like that,
That makes sense. Yeah.
and
So
so
my
like,
niece
I
went to
did
games one day.
yeah, I did go ahead and, like, create, like, a business page, but I haven't done anything with it, and so I've really been on the fence whether, like, is it worth it to invest any time there to repurpose some of this LinkedIn content related to the training that I do on my business page on Facebook, or just do I just go to TikTok?
I mean, the marketer in me would say do both.
Of course.
But like the biased, angsty millennial in me would say, forget that, like
Yeah.
see you later, Facebook, like sayonara, like I'm going where the party's at, I guess, But yeah, I don't know. I feel like LinkedIn, from what I've heard from Jason Vana and some of those types, that
Mhm.
you can really easily repurpose your stuff from LinkedIn to Facebook. There's a similar character count.
Mhm.
So I still think there's a lot of opportunity there. And I still don't think Facebook's going anywhere. There's still plenty of people using it. So for
Yeah.
me my biased opinion is my opinion, but I
Yeah.
still think there's tons of value there. And I just don't go there. And I guess I'm stretched thin enough. And in my head, I'm like, I gotta be selective about what I bring
Mhm.
on. I didn't even want to bring on Instagram, but it was just too easy to integrate it with TikTok. And so I guess if the need is there and it's just one extra step that you can add in, and if it
Mhm.
creates X result, even if it's not much, I think that's definitely worth it. And if you can
Yeah.
just like copy and paste most of what you do on LinkedIn over to there, I mean, that's a breeze for sure.
Yeah.
So I would say
Yeah. Because
yes,
that's
go for it.
yeah, talk about being spread thin, that's where I'm at right now. It's like, "All right, what if I add something, what do I need to take away from to make this all kind of stay,
Yeah,
somewhat balanced with my head above water?"
I know
Um,
I wanna, like, be in a spot where I can just, like, create stuff across every single platform,
yeah.
but, it's kinda like, I'm sacrificing in one area to create this TikTok video and, like,
Mhm.
or whatever else, so, yeah, there's gotta be that balance no matter what, and if you don't have a team doing it for you, um,
Yeah,
you
I am the
know
team.
yeah, you're the team. And
Yeah.
Gary V, the greatest of all the content distributors, has a team of 20 something people, and he
Mhm.
still sleeps only like 3 or 4 hours a night. So, even with all that
Yeah, that's
help,
crazy.
even with all that
Yeah,
help. So, put that in perspective. Maybe we don't all want that. So,
right?
yeah, it's like if we could just grow enough and do it affordably through social media, through organic
Yeah,
growth. Yeah, that's legit to me.
yeah.
That's what it's all about. I meant FB, not TikTok.
Yeah, she said 80s kids like me still use TikTok, but she's meant to say
Oh,
80s
yeah,
kids still use Facebook,
yeah.
which, yeah, we do, we do.
Yeah,
I actually just
I'm a hater.
finished up working on a training on generations in the workforce, and one of the things that was brought up is how, like, the context of certain things changes through generations. Um, like, like the shoe, like the sandal that has the strap that goes between your toes, we know those as
Yeah.
flip-flops, but not too long ago, they were known as something different,
Called a
which now
tangle.
has a different well, thongs, and that
Oh,
has a very different context these days.
what? Really? Wow. It makes sense, but yeah, I've never called that.
Yeah, I remember being very, very, very young, like, still in the '80s when my mom called them thongs, but,
Yeah. What? Yeah, that is so strange.
context changes over time,
Right?
so
It
we
really
gotta
does.
change with
It
it.
really does. Like I say, like that's sick, and back like 10 or 20 years ago, it's like what? No, but now it's like pretty common, like surfer bro talk. I don't know.
Yeah,
I live in Colorado. It's basically California. Like
eh,
it seems like everybody talks like a surfer bro out here.
how funny.
Anyways,
Uh,
yeah. Well, this has
that's
been great.
good.
I do
Yeah,
have to go
I'm
get
surprised we're at the hour
my
mark
little
already,
one
it
from
went
grandma's,
fast.
but yeah, this has been great, and it's really nice talking to you. And
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't know if you had any other areas you wanted to cover, but
No, I think we did a very thorough job, and I can't wait to go back and watch it and kinda take some of your advice and implement it. Um, I do wanna go ahead and plug my guest next week is Rosanna Sales. You can find her on TikTok. She is a professional photographer, and, she does rodeos and other extreme Western sports like that, and she has a I think I'm pretty biased, but she has a killer TikTok, and she posts some of the most
sweet.
amazing stuff. So go look up Rosanna
Cool.
Sales on TikTok and tune in next week right here on Joyful Julie Live at 7 p.m. Central, and she will be live with me next week as well. So, Dan, thank you so much for spending your time with us this
Of
evening
course.
and dropping all your knowledge. And yeah, I just hope you have a great evening.
You too. And it's been
All
great, and keep in touch, and you as well.
right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.